Okay, what is this video about? That's my question. It's a deep question because I have no idea what this video is about at starting here, the recording. One thing that has been on my mind is, what is the status of video games as art? I know that's an old question and has been answered many times by many people in different ways. So, I suppose I wanted to give my perspective on it. Art as video games. You see, video games, my feeling is that they are art in a certain way where let's look at it this way. When I perceive beauty in a video game, I perceive it as a sort of static object. The same way that I perceive beauty in a movie or in a novel or something like that, where the video game can change, position. The characters on the screen are moving, so to speak. Things are happening. Action is taking place on the video game, and it depends on you. You need to sort of turn the buttons and make the movements on the screen happen. But you also need to read a book by turning the pages. You might even claim that in order to watch a movie, there are many ways you can do it, right? You could look directly at the screen. You could look away from the screen and just listen to the movie. I don't know. You could feel the vibrations of the movie on your body. Anyway, things of that nature, right? There is perhaps then in art a certain, there is a way in which the artwork is being handled, and a video game is no exception in this regard, I suppose, is what I mean. You touch different buttons and different things happen on the screen. However, that is the essence of a video game for me, is the object itself. The object itself, I guess you could say, is the code the game was written with, and the stuff that's happening on the screen, and so on. The sounds coming out of the speakers, whatever it may be. There may not be any sound, there may be no images, maybe a sound-based video game. But, however, a video game is not a moving object. It's not a character moving through a screen, going from level to level, achieving points. It is an object in front of you, a screen, whatever it may be. The physical presence of the video game, I think, is more important. I guess is the physical. So, okay, I don't know whether to talk about it in physical terms. What you perceive on the screen is important for you at that given moment. It could be in any other shape or form. It could take any form. You could not play the game. You could lay the remote down and not do anything and just observe what's on the screen and see how the natural pause screen-like mechanisms of the game work. You could play the game in a lot of different ways. The game, however, continues being the game. It never changes. It is still always the same game, regardless of whether you touch it this way, that way, you move the character this way, or you don't move the character, or you don't use the camera, or you lose, or you win, and so on. So in a sense, I guess a strange kind of question that comes into my head around this is that the storytelling of the game is sort of irrelevant for the game as art, in my opinion. Because it doesn't really matter if you even finish the game. And if you don't finish the game, you never discover the whole story. Like, I would claim maybe a bit of a, I don't know how to put it. My subjective impression of like a novel is that you haven't really interacted with the novel unless you finish it. However, is that the same with a video game? Do you need to finish a video game in order to consider that you have engaged with it as a work of art fully, even? Maybe. That's actually a good question. Maybe you do need to finish the game. Do you need to finish? Maybe you can watch a friend finish. Maybe you can watch a streamer online finish the game. I guess basically because the pieces that make up a game are very often non-linear. I mean, it can be very linear in a lot of ways. A game, there can be very linear sorts of games. But I feel like in a lot of cases, if it is a game, there is an element of choice and interactivity from the perspective of the player. If there wasn't that element of choice, it would be a movie or an animation. Is that right? I don't know. There may be cases of games that break this idea that I have of them. But at the moment, that's the idea I have. Like, I think that I'd be interested to see all sorts of experimental games like that. But I think that a game is sort of like it's interactive in some way. That's sort of what makes it a game. And if it's interactive, it means that a variety of choices can be made, and therefore the elements that come onto the screen can come onto the screen at different orders in different ways, with different levels of intensity and speed and so on. And as we all know, then the experience of different players playing the game can be very different in a lot of cases, unless the game's really like streamlined, which is fine. But again, as long as it's a game, I think there will be an element of choice at some level, I suppose. So the elements that come onto the screen in different orders, in different ways, and because they come onto the screen in different orders and different ways, the order in which you absorb information in a game doesn't seem to me to be that kind of, important or controllable. Whereas with a novel, for example, you read it from beginning to end. Some novels obviously don't, right? Some novels have formal kind of tricks where you choose your own adventure, or you can literally just, there are choices that reader needs to make. But that'd be an interesting question, is if a novel is asking you to make different kind of choose your own adventure choices, is it a novel or is it a game? And if it's a game, then it is in the same category as video games. I would be tempted to say that, formally speaking, maybe in a more traditional kind of sense, again, a sense that can be broken in different ways, but games have to do with rules and choices within these rules. a set of choices that you make regarding a work of art that is shifting formally in front of you. The forms the work of art takes, the material forms of the game, of this work of art, change in front of you, depending on your choices, so to speak. I guess one of the things I wanted to say in this video is that I'm tempted sometimes to think that video games are art in as much as they are a story, like a novel, or that they are art in as much as they are moving images on a screen, like video art or cinema, and so on, or they are art in as much as they are, visual art, like a painting, like, it can be very beautiful backgrounds or beautiful sprites. Right? You get what I mean, right? Like, you can compare it to other forms of art and say video games are art because they are like this other form of art. But that kind of reduces it to other forms of art, in my opinion. It says video games are art because they are full of visual art, beautiful, visual art, beautiful music, beautiful storytelling. I don't know, things of that nature. You could say that that's why video games are art, because they are filled with art, filled with art of other types. But I don't think that's entirely true. And again, other people will have thought about this in a lot of different ways, but I'm trying to sort of think this out for myself. I don't think that is true. I think that when I see a video game, I perceive art there that has to do with the video game itself. There is a way in which a video game is art in itself, regardless of the paintings or the music or the storytelling or anything. And it's sort of a tricky one, because a game, I don't think is art. That's sort of the strange, like that opens a whole other can of worms that probably I'll have to wait for another video to discuss or talk about. But yeah. Okay, well, I think that's enough for one video. So thanks for listening. I don't know what this video actually taught you or said, but I tried to say something. I hope it worked. And is that it? Is that the way I want to say goodbye? Okay, so yeah. Thanks. I hope this video was, useful in some way. Thanks for watching. I hope it was good. Thanks. Okay, bye.